Youth and Public Empowerment Day here at COP26, and there are new announcements from this government, indeed new initiatives. A new style of Duke of Edinburgh scheme, not a Duke of Edinburgh scheme, but a different sort of scheme to try and get kids involved in environmentalism, not just climate change, but greening up the community as well, but also putting green issues at the core of the curriculum. Lots to be discussed. I'm delighted to say that we can discuss it all with the Education Secretary himself. Nadhim Zahawi can join me live from COP26 right now. Welcome to the programme. First of all, can you explain a little bit about what's changing about the UK curriculum?
Yeah, absolutely. So two things. One, at primary school, it's the new model primary science curriculum. So giving primary school teachers the tools to be able to deliver evidence-based, really good quality primary education for young minds. And then I'm also launching our sustainability and climate change strategy in draft. And then I will work with teachers, with teaching profession, so we get it right by April of next year, to give them the additional tools to teach evidence-based climate issues in science, so through the STEM subjects, through geography and citizenship, and as you mentioned, the Climate Leaders Awards. These are sort of taking the best of the Duke of Edinburgh, the Prince's Trust, bringing it all together into giving young people an agency. And what I hope will happen, and this is me speaking as an engineer, is not only will they continue to campaign and press other world leaders on this, but also be inspired to be part of the solution through becoming scientists, becoming engineers, leading the innovation in fusion technology, in hydrogen, in offshore wind, in solar, in the future, so that actually what we do is inspire through education and empower through education.
Now, a lot of people will be worried about that term campaign and worry that potentially this might be a political direction that teachers may be instructed to take on. What safeguards will there be to stop potentially activist teachers really scaring an already frightened generation?
Well, I think a couple of things. Well, I think in many ways the generation are leading the way. They're the ones who are highlighting some of the risks. As my Prime Minister has said, if we think that they are at the moment upset with us. So my daughter, who's 9, came in on Monday and said, "Dad, you better be going to that meeting in Scotland." I'm like, "Mia, it's bigger than that. It's a summit and it's huge, and I am going, I promise you." She said, "Good, I'm glad."
Do you worry that over half of young people in this country, over half of 16 to 24-year-olds, think that humanity is doomed?
So
is that a rational point of view to have?
So I do worry, but as the PM said, if we don't fix it now, they'll be even more angry with us, and rightly so, if we don't do this. Now, the really great thing, which I hope I can convey both through the work we're doing on the sustainability and climate change strategy, on the work we've just discussed, is to be able to say there's hope. Where is the hope? One, we as adults are already doing something about this. So when we took on the presidency, only 30% of the world's economy had signed up to net zero. It went up to 80% before we got to Glasgow. When we're here, it's now 90% of the world economy have signed up to net zero. Right? Deforestation, 85% of forests in the world will be protected and I hope enhanced. Cars, more commitments on taking hydrocarbons out of transport, out of cars for us for 2030, many countries by 2035. And of course, cash. A lot of countries, and this is where actually young people have got a really important point, who haven't been chucking CO2 into the air because they're not as advanced as we are or as industrialized, don't have the wherewithal, they don't have the money to be able to make some of these transitions. So giving them that that 100 billion commitment a year is really, really important.
No, you're making a positive case there.
Yeah.
Why on earth hasn't the Prime Minister been making that positive case? Why has he been talking about doomsday machines? Why has he been so pessimistic? It's so unlike him in the last 7 days. For Boris to be not boosterish, but pessimistic.
I would urge you, and you are good at this because I know you follow the evidence, read Hansard from Wednesday, because I was sitting next to him throughout his statement to Parliament on G20 and on COP, and he was using these exact words. In fact, I am plagiarizing probably by using his own language, that there is real hope around the technologies that are now available, the science, as well as, of course, the immediate work we're doing on coal, on cash, on cars, and on trees. Now, you asked a really important question. How do you deliver hope? I think you deliver hope through having a curriculum that is rich, that gives teachers evidence-based tools to be able to teach and inspire. So it's not just about being angry, it's being then empowered to do something.
Absolutely, and on those evidence-based tools, on that empowerment of teachers, what safeguards specifically are there against, for example, schools? There's one school, the Ramsgate Arts Primary School down in Kent, that encouraged students to stick on slogans and symbols of Extinction Rebellion onto children's clothes. Now, Extinction Rebellion is an extreme group founded by a man who's written incredibly unsavoury things and believes that billions of people will die in short order. Is that acceptable for that school to have done?
No, it's not. I'm very clear on that, right? One, schools should always remember impartiality, right? Any contested theory should not be promoted, or if they are, they should be, depending on the year group, people should hear both sides of any argument. But very importantly, it should be very much around the evidence, and impartiality is really important, and not to politicise this in any way. And political groups like Extinction Rebellion should not be being promoted in any school.
Well, that is very, very clear from you. Thank you so much for joining us here this morning on The Briefing, Education Secretary Nadhim Zahawi. One final little question. Booster jabs. Of course, in your previous job, you were the jab supremo, and were deeply, deeply successful in rolling out that first wave. The second wave seems to be a little bit stuttering. These booster jabs not going as quickly as many people would like. What advice do you have to the people who are now running the programme?
So, one, they're doing a great job. There are now 500 more sites than we had in phase one. Which is great, so that more people can just walk in and get their booster jab. We are over 8.3 million the last time I looked at the numbers a couple of days ago, which is fantastic. People have been boosted. Big target, we want to get to about 35 million people who are over 50 who need that protection. By the way, the protection it gives you is a quantum more. And actually not taking it means you are leaving yourself exposed, because the waning from the first phase of vaccination is quite, it does accelerate after 6 months, certainly. So it's really important that people get the boost.
The numbers aren't high enough now, are they?
They are. I think they're doing well. I think they can keep going, because actually now you can walk in. The system has also been enhanced because you can book online, so that you can actually schedule it into your week or your day. Lots of effort going into this, as well as, of course, vaccinating the 12 to 15-year-olds.
Was it an embarrassment yesterday in Parliament that the Leader of the Commons had to U-turn on a bit of a move to try and mark your own homework?
I think to the contrary. I tell you for why. If you just think about what's happened over the last 24, 48 hours, when we came to Parliament, actually, if you look at the substantive measure, it is about creating a fairer system, a system with a right to appeal, as we have in many professions in this country.
But retrospectively doing that was a bit of an issue.
But, right. So conflating that with a specific case of Owen Paterson was a mistake. I think to reflect within 24 hours, and by the morning have the Leader of the House, and I take collective responsibility for this, by the way, to come forward and say, look, we made a mistake to conflate the two, the really important one to get right, and we need cross-party negotiation on this, and I urge all my fellow parliamentarians from whichever party to shed their politics. Let's not play tit for tat. Let's get this right for generations, and actually for your viewers, for the country, to have confidence in the system of scrutiny of MPs. A right of appeal actually is about our values as a nation, right? People should have that fairness built into the system. Conflating it was wrong. It was right to come forward and say, actually, you know what, we made a mistake. And I'd rather trust a leader who can recognise that within 24 hours and come back and say, look, we made a mistake on this, than someone who will just plough on ahead.
Certainly does seem to be a theme of this government, that it decides one thing one day and quickly changes its mind when it gets it wrong. Whether that's a good thing or a bad thing, I'll leave it for others to decide. But for now, Nadhim Zahawi, thank you so much for joining us here on GB News.
Thank you very much.
Welcome to the GB News YouTube channel. You can watch us live 24 hours a day, catch up on your favourite shows, and join in the conversation in the comments below.
Don't forget to subscribe and you'll never miss any of our exclusive content.